Talking about you got this and you got that, and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Only Friends podcast. We are joined by a very special guest today to talk all things Game of Gold. I hate to step all over your Twitter threads, Pads, but we appreciate you coming to the studio to do it here live. Welcome.
It's good to be here. Yeah.
What brings you to Vegas? I mean, I know the answer, but
Well, I thought it'd be good weather, but it's actually surprisingly cold.
it's shit here in the winter.
Yeah, December, January, February is kind of... Well, February starts to get warm again, but December and January is like the worst months.
I think a lot of people in Europe are contemplating go to Prague or go to Vegas. And it's like,
Go to Prague.
Vegas will be nice weather. But really, like,
Yeah.
if you have bad weather, you may as well have like Christmas markets and snow and like romantic kind of weather. But Vegas is just kind of like weird.
Just the
Well, romantic
crisp
kind of
air.
weather. You taking a little mamacita to Prague? Like, what's going on here?
There's lots of mamacitas in Prague as well.
Okay, I see.
Okay.
I see where you're going with this.
There's lots of pros to go there.
Was it actually?
Hold on a second. You might need to clarify.
Go on.
No. Lots of good reasons to go there.
Right, there you go. Leave it to Guapo. Was it actually a strong consideration between Prague and here? I mean, as far as I would have guessed, I would think Prague would rank third as far as the majors.
Most people in Europe are going to Prague first and then come into Vegas after.
Okay, but they're going to try to hit both?
They're not going to do the prelims here. They're just going to play, come for the main, basically.
Yeah.
I think that seems like the best thing to do. Because Prague has a lot of like good 10Ks and stuff like this. So you play like 2 or 3 10Ks, the 5K main, and then you'd fly to Vegas for the year. Because right now it's like 600s and 1K or something. 5K.
Yeah, there's some big guarantees. I guess there's like a 1K, 5 million.
That's the prime championship.
Yeah, there's a 1650 mystery bounty that's like a, 1 million or 2 million?
3 maybe.
3 million? Who knows, man? They're just slapping fucking...
They're just slapping millions of dollar guarantees on everything.
I gotta say, I love to see the 2 biggest tours that we have just go at each other's throats and see who can smash the bigger guarantee on things. It's a little bit misleading because a lot of the WSOP guarantees are like really big buy-in stuff. But yeah, it's nice that, I don't know if you saw, there's like an email circulating where WSOP is offering a free roll into the 1650 mystery bounty at the Bahamas for like all 7-star.
Really?
Yeah, so they're just like really fucking trying hard to get people out there.
It's good for the game, though.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, I think like, tournament poker, you have to be loving this. Like live tournament poker is certainly flourishing.
Yeah, WPT also like give away so much in satellites and over. Like, there's just free money going everywhere.
Yeah.
Good.
You've been there, for 3 days now? 2 days?
In Vegas?
Well, the Wynn specifically,
The
but
Wynn, like 3 or 4 days.
What's the atmosphere? Because to me, it's too early. We were like started to talk about it yesterday. And I was like, no one cares yet. Like next week.
Yeah, I was in Bellagio first, and it was just like a graveyard. It was so quiet. There was no atmosphere at all.
Welcome to the office.
Everyone was just seemed like just everyone was grinding but miserable. Then I went to Wynn.
That's how Berkey likes it.
Yep. It's Christmas, baby.
But the Wynn has like I'm not sure if it's always like this, but it has kind of a carnival atmosphere. Maybe because the people going around are going to like Encore or wherever, or it's more of a vibey kind of place.
No, it's always like that because in the summer, everybody's going to Encore Beach. So at like 7 p.m., you'll just see Francis Anderson walking by with like a bottle of Dom, 3 random girls that he found in the hall, asking what time late reg ends. So
I've seen him there already this year too. So
right.
Shout out to him.
So yeah, you get it. I mean, like Christmas time is no different here. I'm looking forward to like when we start to get into the thick of it, because it's very hard for me personally to pay attention start to finish. Like, and I don't know, maybe you feel differently because you like really grind MTTs, but how much do you give a shit about like these prelims when they're sub 1K? The meetup game. Like, don't get me wrong, it's great for the growth of the game, but it's hard for me to pay attention to personally.
You fucking bagged yesterday.
Yeah, I played yesterday. Yeah.
He also like final table in Omaha 8.
With Craig.
Yeah.
Who loves it more?
Yeah, I don't really... I kind of enjoy it because I only play live once a year. So if I come out, if I play a 600, it's like playing someone else, like maybe a 5K or something, because they're playing it all the time. But for me, I just come to Vegas once a year. This is the first time I've ever come twice. So to play a 600 or a 1K, to me, it's like, it just feels fun because I don't do it. You know, I play online all the time.
That makes sense. And the atmosphere is obviously like a buzz of lots of millions in the air.
It's interesting though. I wonder how many of you there are where they just come to Vegas for the World Series, right? And then now they're coming to Vegas twice a year for the WPT, which is it just shows the growth of the WPT championship.
For sure. I don't think I've ever played a WPT before.
No? Really?
Never, no.
Wow.
Maybe I've played like a circuit event in England or something, like a 2K. But
You weren't here last year for this?
No. I've never played WPT ever.
What got you here now? 40 million?
Yeah.
that'll do it.
Yeah, I don't remember where it was last year. I think it didn't go anywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, just hibernated, played online.
Can you make that mic alienate your face a little more? Just like really stuff it in there.
Oh, sure.
Alienate.
You beat me to the punch.
Yeah, they're saying you're a little low.
Okay.
There we go.
You're back.
We got you now.
Okay, cool.
If you don't feel like you're being violated, it's not close enough.
Okay.
Okay, good. All right, so we're on the same page. So I guess the big question, do you think that WPT is going to hit the 40 million?
Yeah, I think they'll smash it. I think
Smash it. What's smash it mean? 50?
50 plus, yeah.
Wow.
50 plus.
Oh,
I guess they're not confident about it though, because they would then have done 50 because 50 sounds
Right, 50 sounds
rounded.
it's
Yeah.
a freeze out though. It's a freeze out per flight.
If it's 4 entries, a lot of people have 4 entries. Also, because the satellites are so big, a lot of people will satellite in twice or 3 times.
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
true too.
And there's people. I bought my seat. I'm not sure I should say this.
ahead.
Are we live? I guess we are. I bought my seat for 8K.
Whoa, discount market. Let's fucking go.
Really? Off of somebody who won a satellite?
Yeah, and I bought another one for like 9.4 or something. So like, I think there's a lot of people have a lot of tickets. I think people have. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly, but yeah.
Damn.
What about WSOP? You think they'll hit their guarantee for the main? I think it's 15 million for a 5K.
I've played on GG for many years, and whenever you think they're not going to hit a guarantee, they'll hit it somehow. People will show up. People will see the value. Like, they're good at marketing. They have lots of pros, whatever. They will hit it somehow.
I'm actually surprised that they're the satellites are transferable. Just because you would think they would want the satellite winners to play and not sell it to somebody who's already going to play anyways.
Yeah.
Why do they care?
Because that will help the guarantee.
Well, I see what you're saying.
Right?
Yeah, I understand. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
40 just seems like a lot. You know,
It is a lot.
How many people do they need to hit the guarantee to play this fight?
4,000.
4,000 if
Exactly.
it's break free.
Well, 4,000 if
no,
4,000
sorry.
right on the back because it's 10,400. So I'm guessing the 400 is
You're
the
right,
rate,
you're
right?
You're right.
Is there any more than 400? Maybe there is. Maybe it's
I
maybe an
never
extra
know,
couple hundred to like
admin
staff or
fees,
something.
They
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
take like 1% additional.
There's always fees.
But
How many people played
roughly 4,000.
How many people played the WSOP main?
10,000.
10,000. So 10,000 uniques, and now they need maybe like 1,500 uniques. Only like 15% of the main. It feels like doable to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about it.
How
that
many
way,
people?
right?
like that.
How many people played last year?
They got 32
million.
million in the prize pool or something along those lines.
Were you saying that the average person that plays it will buy in 3 times?
Well, I think many people will buy in
no.
4.
Well, no, but he said 1,500 unique.
yeah, I
So
understand.
that would be.
You'll get many people who buy in 4 times. You get many people who satellite in for once, and then you'll have
Right.
some people who will maybe win another satellite or
Right,
take a
right.
shot again or sell some action.
Yeah.
When you've been in for one bullet, usually you find a way somehow to be in for the next one because you have the FOMO, right? So
Yeah. That's why I'm just going to play the last flight so I don't have to think about that.
It's
it's honestly a good strategy.
Yeah, yeah.
The question is, which is the best flight to play?
It has to be
right?
last one.
It has to be the last one. It's almost always.
Almost always.
Almost always the last flight is usually, the best players make it through, and it's the biggest. Which when it's the
but
biggest,
all the
it's
Svens will be
usually-
here.
Oh, because
That
they'll be coming.
flight out of the Bahamas,
well-
it'll get Sven here just in time
You know what?
for
Bring
day
Sven
4.
on. Bring him on.
Have you met Sven?
I
Pat?
have, yes. That's why I don't play so much live poker.
There's a couple of them floating around there. Maybe one even called Lewis.
yeah. Lewis is a nice guy.
I love Lewis.
I'll not beat him.
I like to be able to poke fun of him because he can take it.
Who's Lewis?
This guy always wears a scarf.
Sure.
Lewis Spencer. He's
Lewis Spencer.
What's his last name?
No, it's Spencer. I said Spencer.
Oh, Spencer. That's
Spencer.
what you did there.
That's good.
Plays high stakes. Plays like high stakes cash, high stakes
Gotcha.
MTTs, and he was the one who put the tweet up saying like how high stakes cash was all gone private.
Oh, right.
And everybody
right.
just said if you weren't wearing a scarf, maybe you'd get a seat.
That's right.
Some truth to that. Speaking of high stakes cash, A little bit of wailing around yesterday. My man Santos showed up back in the building. By the way, like he's not the free ticket that people have been expecting him to be as of late.
He's been in the lab?
Well, I'm not saying that he's a high stakes crusher by any stretch of the imagination, but he's changed some things. He seems to be getting after it a little bit more, and he's been putting up some big numbers. I think he won $500,000 2 days ago on Hustler, and he might have been one of the bigger winners again yesterday. Martin Cabral was on there doing Martin Cabral things.
Oh my God, that hand with Andy.
I mean, Andy didn't stand a fucking chance.
That was just fucking epic.
He didn't stand a chance. Andy went for the river bluff with Jack 9 on Ace King Queen XX, I think.
It was King Queen XX Ace, I think.
Yeah. Yes, you're correct. And Martin had the King Jack and said, "Not only do I not believe you, but just in case you have me beaten,
shoved.
I'm all in for a click."
It was so weird.
So based.
And it
so strange.
yeah, it was interesting. It was almost I'm not gonna go there.
Maybe.
I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this because I don't believe it to be true. Go on, Bats.
Oh,
If he somehow did know the guy's hand,
Bail
it does
me
make
out.
sense to jam because you have a free roll. Maybe he misreads his hand
Correct.
and tells you.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you know he has Jack 9,
Right.
you should always shove for the river.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah, well,
Maybe he thinks he has Jack 10. you know?
Way to fucking bail me out, Pads. Thanks. But yeah, so the show ended up getting cut a little bit short at the dismay of friend of the show, Rampage. What's Rampage doing? How rich is this kid? He's sitting $1 million deep, playing heads up 1K or 501K versus Jungle. I mean,
Did they both have $1 million or just?
Jungle was
Jungle
buried.
had like 200K.
Yeah, Jungle was buried, had like 200K.
Listen, man, the guy's fearless. Right? He doesn't give a fuck. He just fires high rollers, wins them. You know, he just grabs $1 million, says, "I'll play whoever." He
He's
just
so
doesn't
rich.
care. He's either rich or just doesn't care.
Both
Maybe a
could be
little
true.
bit of
Could be
both.
both.
Yeah,
It
it
could
could
be
be
both.
both. Yeah.
Youthful exuberance, man.
Yeah.
I wish I had. I'm so glad I didn't have that kind of money when I was that age.
You wouldn't have had it long.
Could you imagine if I had a couple million at like 25 when Rail Heaven was just like going off daily?
Man,
You'd
you'd have been right in there.
I would either be the richest person in poker right now, or I would have made some people the richest people in poker. I could have been Victor Blum,
Yeah.
just 10 tabling Dur, getting my head kicked in. You know, it's like so it could have been one of those things where like you start at 510 and you just get buried enough. Where the next thing you know, you're playing 501K with Ivy, Antonius, Dur. And you're
It's the
just
only way
like,
to get it back.
hey, this is the only way I can get even. He's still the blinds a few times.
Christ.
But yeah, so the game ended up breaking down in a bit of a dramatic way.
Yeah.
Airball kind of gave the wink and a nod to Santosh and said, hey, got a better game down the street. Why don't we get on up out of here? And, Airball being the most sought after whale in all of high stakes right now, I trust that the game they were going to was probably fucking juicy. There's a lot of obviously like really good action when you start to get into the upper echelons of nosebleeds, like the 501K games, the 1K, 2K games, these big PLO games, things like that. And basically anywhere that I think Airball would be willing to take Santosh is probably one of the best games in America right now.
Maybe the world.
So those two leave. Martin racks up. And now suddenly everybody else on stream doesn't think they're winning, in spite of the fact that the three people remaining are Rampage, Andy, who's stuck $500,000, and Jungle, who's stuck like 400K. So
They're all stuck, yeah.
They're three-handed now, and Andy's frustrations just totally boiled over. He couldn't take it anymore, and he expelled the demons on air prior to getting muted.
Bye, Ray.
Good fucking game.
See you, Ray.
Good job tonight.
It's a joke, dude.
Raymond.
Fucking joke, man. This is my life, though, by the way. Just like the politics of this shit. Like, should be smart and do what you do. Just play tournaments,
No,
So bad, dude.
bro, don't even think about
No, I'm just saying, like, at least don't deal with this shit, Like, this is the grimiest shit ever. Fucking just halfway, like, Nick just takes them to another private game and shit. So grimy, dude.
You think Andy wants us to talk over this, maybe?
Fucking dirty.
I think it's okay. It's a little bit of insight into the cash game player and the private game world, and especially playing high stakes. It's tough.
No, but he's such a gentleman.
He is. He's such a gentleman.
He might. I don't know. Whatever.
I don't think.
I'm too pissed off right now.
Fair enough.
He's just pissed off. He's human. You mentioned this
All right.
earlier, and I think it's great.
We'll see.
He's
We'll see,
human.
Andy.
We see
I don't
that
blame.
side of
Look,
him.
I've been there. I can speak to this. It's the worst feeling on earth. Usually whenever it happens to me, it's a scenario not where somebody gets escorted off to a better game. It's just that the guy that the game is built around has a dinner reservation. You know, he's up 50K and time's the ticking. Like, let me get some racks.
Andy doesn't sound like a man who's won Game of Gold.
No, that's fair. We could talk about that in a minute. But yeah, like obviously, like when you're buried here, you're super frustrated, and the fact that this happened because a player in the game kind of forced it to happen is especially aggravating. So this led to Andy then going to the HCL chat and basically saying, if
he's so mad he wants to talk to the people.
It's really funny how much these characters interact with the chat.
Yeah, it's like you're playing the game, man.
Right. So he said, if a player is allowed to bring a player out of the game midstream to a private game again, I'm done with HCL. Basically, like putting his foot in the ground.
Yeah.
And Vertucci told him to go fuck himself. He said, what's wild is you airing shit out in chat, not professional or smart. And I think what we're seeing is this bubbling over, which, you know, this isn't the first time. Obviously, it happened with Garrett a year ago, and it'll continue to happen, where I think that there is a very unclear line between who holds all of the leverage in the high stakes live stream and the high stakes community, right? So I think from the perspective of like what's being said publicly, guys like Andy and Garrett and Mariano and Rampage, they believe themselves to be the draw. Airball, you know, they believe themselves to be the draw, and they're very likely to be right. Where Nick's stance is, we put this game on for you. You wouldn't have anywhere to play if it wasn't for us. Shut the fuck up, or you're never getting a seat again, kind of thing. Like, we did you a favor even letting you in.
Yeah.
I think that both are right to some degree. What do you make of all this as a casual spectator, Pads?
I have close to zero interest, to be honest.
It's fair.
Yeah. I don't watch
Close to zero, which means you have some.
Yeah, I like to watch the 5 biggest hands of every stream. Basically, I go to the if they have lots of views and it's like high up on my YouTube algorithm, I'll click it on and I'll go through the timestamps and look for like the biggest size pots, and I'll watch them. Or if there's a Twitter thread with like from Hustler, I watch them. In terms of politics, it's like I'm not interested in it at all, kind of thing. It's not, yeah.
Well, I guess let me reframe the question, because from my perspective, the way that I've seen the last year play out post Garrett is that the inmates have kind of ran the asylum, where at first it was Krish who was kind of dictating lineups, and whenever he wasn't getting his way, or for whatever other reasons, he disappeared from the scene. Then it was blank check Ben. I'm not playing with this guy, that guy, or the other. Then he disappeared. Then it became Airball, and Airball went from being the guy that was getting shut out because he's quote unquote too good to now suddenly being like one of the biggest whales in all of high stakes. And now he's being very much coveted by a lot of other game runners. They're escorting him away, things of that nature. So the big question then becomes, if you're a hustler, can you actually sustain this model moving forward if you're reliant upon the people who are losing in the game to prop it up? And I think like I guess that's where my question comes from, is like, how interesting is this? Like, are we actually seeing the decline here?
I think there's just so many people who, with so much money, who lose at poker, who want to be in the spotlight, that there'll always just be new characters come around. Like Nick Airball came from nowhere, basically, right? And there'll just be another Nick Airball who wants to be on the TV. I think interesting thing for me is why Santosh left. Like, I can see why Airball wanted to go to a better game, but like Santosh for me feels like he plays the Tritons and he's live streamed and TV'd cash games because he likes poker and like being on the TV and the bright lights. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to me that if he committed to playing this game, why he left. You know, I can see why Nick Airball wanted to leave and play against whoever in whatever Beverly Hills or whatever, but I don't see why. It's kind of interesting to me that he has such a big pull on Santosh. He can be like, hey, let's go, and Santosh goes. To me, I feel like Santosh would have been there to battle.
Do you think perhaps Santosh is bum hunting Nick?
Stop.
I'll just go where you go.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not a thing.
No, right.
Well, he has to be. He has to have gone because he thinks he's chasing the money rather than the fame, or well, not the fame, but like
I
the spotlight, which is what I always assumed he played poker kind of for. So for him to leave is like the most interesting thing out of it all.
Yeah, well, Berkey did say that this is maybe one of the best games in America. Maybe he just couldn't pass up on the opportunity.
And it could be PLO. Like, I know he plays a lot of PLO, so he might actually prefer that format. He's pretty friendly with like Airball, Charles, that little collective that kind of does prop up the Hustler lineup. It's just like kind of conflicting interest, I guess.
It really is interesting to see like a stream game break like a normal private game would.
It's
it's
like tough, man. Like, I'm surprised they don't have a protocol for this. Like, the last thing that I would ever want to do if I ran live streams, and Bally's is guilty of having had this happen a bunch, is let the game break on air.
Yeah.
Like, you have to like somehow find a way,
especially at the hands of the quote unquote star or the get, right? Like people want to see Nick Airball.
Yeah, like you would think that you would communicate some sort of like protocol where it's like, hey, I don't want you to do this, but like if you're gonna do this in the future, like you have to give me a 45-minute heads up so I can cut the stream.
Now you're scrambling.
Right. And now you're just left with Ethan playing jungle heads up.
Such a
like
bad look.
They're basically asking him like, will you play 30 more minutes so we can end this fucking stream? And it's like, are you kidding me? Like,
no, I don't want to do that.
Ethan's probably played like 0 heads up cash seriously, like versus a studied person.
The only time I ever know is like he'll play Mike sometimes on like an app, right? Just fuck around.
Yeah, okay, so maybe he's like trying, but like jungle, this is his forte.
Yeah,
you know,
he's played a lot of heads up.
I mean, yeah, I guess to be fair, Ethan did just play Doug.
That's what this is all for.
Right. Correct.
The final boss jungle on the Hustler live stream for the last 30 minutes.
It was all to prep him for jungle. You're right. Well, that 30 minutes didn't go well.
You can see the future.
That 30 minutes did not go well. Ethan ended up having the biggest loss of his career. I think he ended up losing somewhere around 315K.
F in the chat for our boy.
It's brutal, man. It's got to be tough for him too because he's selling publicly for these games, not just this one, but also the WPT cash game.
Yeah, it really sucks when you lose on stream for the people. When you sell to the people, it's like, man, I let everybody down.
I mean, it sounds like a large number, but he bought in for $1 million till he lost like a third of what he sat with, right? It's not like he lost. You know, like he kept reloading $1 million.
Right.
Like,
the thing is, the game was only
stakes wise though.
Well, it kept changing, right? It was 200, 400 to begin with.
Yeah, it did.
So it's like, how do we measure this? He either lost 3 buy-ins at 501K, or he got absolutely, obliterated.
Well, then he played jungle 501K heads up.
Yeah, which is like relatively high variance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I don't think it's like that big of a loss. Of course it is, like money wise, but I don't think he,
like buy-in wise. This is like the theory infinite roll kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
In an infinite roll, you have infinite millions of dollars. You didn't lose anything.
But if he bought in for, say, he has this 6 million roll from Stake Kings, or is this?
I have no idea.
I think that's what the plan was. I'm not positive he went.
Well, it's like now he has 5.7. I mean, it's not that. It doesn't feel like it's that big of a blow.
Right.
Yeah.
If you have 6 million, it's because you're expecting to go on maybe like $2 million, $3 million swings, right? So if this is as brutal as it would get, then it should be fine for him almost. I feel like it could get a lot worse.
It could get really well. It also just gets really nasty with like your own personal perception of money, right? You lose $300,000, and you're like, oh, like just to know this is a casual Thursday with the boys at Hustler. And
I've been there.
I was gonna say, what's that like, Berkey?
I mean, you kind of just like have to view it that way.
And you're like, this is like a house. Like you lost a house.
Yeah, when you start thinking in those terms, though,
but it's just a tool.
Yeah,
yeah, right.
It's a tool to buy a house.
Or maybe you don't think it's a house, but maybe your friends and family think it's a house. Like, oh my god, you lost 300K last night.
Like, are you okay? Like, how was your brain?
And then you have to explain it to them. Maybe
that's the most annoying part.
I think people, when they lose in poker, often the worst thing is they don't want to lose because they're scared of how other people are going to react to their losses, especially when it's so public and it's going to be everywhere.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, like why would I ever do this because I saw him lose this much money? Where it's like,
I think it's also like the way that it happened, right? I think he was only stuck maybe 100, 125 prior to the heads up /3-way with Andy. And it's like, well, is this really a spot that we want to be, pressing an edge for 30 minutes? Like, you already know that you're not going to play very many hands. You already know it's pretty high variance, and these guys are not giving much up at that point.
But it's kudos to him for sticking around. You're probably going to get invites to future games because it shows he's not leaving when Nick and Santosh leaves. That's true. I think that's a good thing.
So what you're saying is Rampage equals new Garrett. I think that's it.
I don't think there'll ever be a new Garrett, but there needs to be someone.
That's kind of the thing, right? Like the whole like Rampage and Mariano kind of playing more high stakes stuff, like kind of taking that spot. Not like as new Garrett, but like as the new staple.
Well,
it's more relative, right? Like like most people who play in the Win can't be Garrett. They'll never be Garrett because Garrett came up. He's like just a different breed. But I think Rampage and Mariano, they represent the grinders in the Win, Bellagio, wherever the casinos in LA. And like, oh, I could maybe do that too. It like makes the grind potentially possible. You know, online kind of died because there was no one coming up anymore who were grinded like Linus. You know, that never happened anymore. There was no big people coming through, so there was less people to look up to. So less people wanted to grind because there was no like end goal.
I think that's a good point. Like I do think that Mariano and Rampage very much represent the everyman, especially like the way that Rampage kind of branded himself his first couple years, where it's
He's
like
playing 1-3 2 years
I
ago.
have no idea what I'm doing. I just luck box my way into a bracelet, and then like a year later, he's playing high rollers.
Man,
you
it's
know?
really crazy. Honestly, I kind of want to do that. I want to look back at like an old Ethan vlog.
Yeah,
Go back to like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
He's playing like 1-3 at like Boston Billiards or whatever it is.
It's quite the come up.
And now here he is, like I'm on Stake Kings playing 501k heads up against Jungle to keep the stream going.
Whereas Garrett was always the end boss of whatever he played, head of singles, cash, whatever. You know? So like, you saw Garrett, he was like, oh, I can never be him. You know, he's just different breed. But Rampage, I think many people are, oh, like maybe I can do it too. You know,
you know, not everyone might want to be Garrett, to be quite honest. As this game was breaking, Vertucci was trying to fill some seats, so he went to the chat and he said, "Hey Ryan, call Garrett to come fill in. I hear his new appearance fee is $30,000 a show." And then out of the blue, he just goes, "G-Man's on Grindr. Go ahead and ping him." So, man just has shots getting fired at him left and right. Can't just, you know, live in peace now that he's out of the scene.
Why can't we all just get along?
I mean, it's never gonna end, man. The war has begun. The shots have been fired. It'll be interesting. They're running a 24-hour stream today, so a lot of those same characters have committed to come back. It looks like Alan Keating is headlining the show. Charles, Airball, Santosh, they're all committed to start at 30 minutes from now, 1 p.m. And they're going to play until 1 p.m. tomorrow.
Wow.
I don't know how you go from a game breaking hours prior to it's supposed to yesterday to suddenly having enough people to fulfill a high stakes lineup throughout 24 hours. But I'll be interested to tune in at like 4 a.m.
See if they're still there.
Well, because the stakes are going to be tripled at
what
that
if
point.
Nick leaves after like 3 hours?
That would be kind of funny, actually. But like, you know, 4 a.m., the stakes are going to be tripled. 3 guys are going to be absolutely buried to the gills.
So they're raising the stakes as the hours go on?
No, it's just the way.
Oh.
If you're running a 24-hour cash game, unless the entire lineup turns over.
Correct, right.
I mean, they're going to be playing like 2K, 4K by the time 4 a.m. rolls around.
Yeah.
Somebody's bankroll is going to be on the table. Another person's going to be buried enough that they're going to want to just, you know, jump. And you're going to have to power through another 9 or 10 hours of this. Like, I've played some 24-hour sessions. It's only the people who are stuck at the end.
What are they starting at? 2-4?
I think 2-4.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know because it's Keating. So, like, you know, how much how much did the mystery man bring with him this time? You know, he could be in for 3 or 4 million by the time 6 a.m. rolls around. It'll be. I'm curious to just, you know, open it up when I wake up in the morning and see where the hell we're at.
See what's popping.
Yeah, what's popping? Who's buried 7 figures? I do think it's a good idea though, especially at those high stakes. People will forget the cameras are on at some point throughout 24 hours, and we should get some gold out of that. And speaking of gold, see what I did there?
You didn't have to point it out. It was too good.
I thought it was actually really bad. That's why I pointed it out.
Speaking of, like,
No,
is that a good
great.
segue?
No, that's why I pointed it out.
It ruins it when you
see what
point
I
out
did
the segue.
We had, well, was it a big episode of Game of Gold today? Pat, give us your notes. You know,
I didn't make any.
give us your mental notes here. People have been clamoring.
I don't think it was a big episode, really. I thought there was like it was the Nikita episode, I think. A lot of people didn't really give her credit. It was like the first episode's on Nikita can never bluff. She's so tight. She folds ace queen. She folds this. She folds that. And I think one of the first hands, David Williams bluffs, and she instantly folds the queen.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh my God, is it going to be like this again kind of thing?
We went to Diamond, yeah.
I almost got the notes out. And then she just turned into like,
Rambo.
yeah. But I don't think we saw her like discussing this with the team. You know, like you may have like a plan, like, oh, I'm gonna go in here and just bluff him every hand. I think she actually discussed with Robin, like, oh, like we shouldn't bluff him. Or Robin was like, don't bluff him. But she was like, no, I'm gonna like, I need to do this. I need to save the team now. I need to go for it.
I thought her approach to David is perfect. So I don't know how much of this was conscientious, but I would imagine that whether she discussed it with everybody else or not, she had an overall game plan going in that was actually sort of similar to Robin's, but much more refined. So I think Robin's perspective of having watched David play is that he's just too wide, pretty much in all spots, and maybe plays a little bit too passively. So he's a station. and you're just going to be able to value him to death, but you're also going to be able to run him over quite a bit because he's going to land in too many nodes with too many hands, and you know how that goes. But what I think they forget is when you're playing these like turbo-y type sit and goes, the SPRs get short pretty fast. And people who are too wide that are facing like half pot just overcall. Like they don't overfold by any stretch of the imagination. They're getting such a good price. So if you're bluffing close to equilibrium, or, you know, in Robin's case, probably over bluffing a lot of these spots, you're just getting looked up a ton and you're bleeding and bleeding and bleeding. So I think that was why the notion of like, oh, we just shouldn't bluff David. We should be patient, wait to have it, and then he'll just pay off like a slot machine. What Nikita did, I thought, was the refinement to that approach, which is I can't get him to fold for a single bet because it doesn't apply enough pressure unless I'm like massively overbetting. So what I'm going to do is play a little bit more passively and more conservatively in some spots and see if he will put himself in harm's way by betting too widely. And that's exactly what happened in all of those spots where she ran the big bluffs, right? She had a give up, or he took a weird lead line with a king on a 4 flush. And because of that, she absolutely capitalized on those mistakes, taking hands that, you know, probably don't play this way in theory, but are absolutely massively exploiting David's tendencies. And as a man, you know, who plays a little bit like David a little too often, I get it. You got to bluff for the all-in size. You have to make it hurt when they call. Yeah, and you see how fast he was like windmill folding. You know, like the Jack 8's a prime example of it. Yeah. Like he felt like he had a very clear value bet there. He goes for it. She check jams, and there wasn't even a thought process of like, what are her candidates here? It was literally just like, well, never bluff.
Was that the one where she bet like a third on the turn? She like bet really small. Like, I don't know if she's trying to keep his range wide.
Well, she
or
check called flop, and then she donked the turn on the 7.
Okay, that's right. Yeah. And then she check jammed.
Interesting, she doesn't just bluff the river.
That's what I would have done. I was telling Matt this. Like, I think I would bluff with like 5-6 on the end. Or something.
They were all saying, "Oh, well, she can't have 8-6 now." I was like, "Why can't she have 8-6?"
You can have a straight if she wants.
Oh, she could definitely have 8-6. Yeah, Robin she could also just have diamonds.
Robin's like, "Oh, we can't bluff now because we don't have 8-6." So there's some comment like that to me. Well,
wait, can we go back to the board?
Oh, I thought they said, "I wish she had 8-6."
I think she said she can't have.
I think you're both right. Okay. I do remember him making a comment of like, we can't bluff this because we don't have 8-6 or something.
It seems
like that.
a great card to bluff the 4. Like a lot of our like 4-6 now got there. We wouldn't bluff.
Right.
He can just have ace king, ace queen. Whatever.
I think I'd want to use like 6 of diamonds. 6 of diamonds 4. It's a nice one. 6 diamonds 5.
4 is a pair. We win.
Yeah, I mean,
David's gonna have all like he's so sticky with the ace highs. Like throughout, he's always been just like calling down these ace highs, king highs.
I just wonder how much you want to bet like jam with like no board interaction.
What are you trying to make fold with a 4? David's not. If you go like bet on the river, he's not going to fold jack. The only way you can get out of this if you somehow check, he somehow reopens the action for a third pot, and then you somehow jam. Well, it's the only way to win the hand, and she somehow found it, which is like incredible.
Yeah,
right. I'm just thinking. I don't know if you want to check jam with the pair, because when you do bet, like you might not have that much. Like your hand might function well as a mixed call, mixed bluff, versus like bluff no pair.
Sure.
Like results wise, yeah, like it worked out that way to check jam, but I think I would have been on your side and like just would have bet river myself.
Like what would you bluff if not 9-6 with a diamond? Right.
Probably like a rivered pair.
No, I mean like as the starting the action on the river. Like she check calls flop, leads turn, and then she has action on the river. Like
you're saying like what else would you follow through with?
What else would you follow
besides
through?
Like 6-9 with the diamond?
Yeah.
Well, hands like it. If you go back to the board,
Point is that this is like a prime
10-9, right?
This is just like a prime candidate to
like,
bluff.
This is a great one. Yeah, this is a good one, right?
Having a 6 feels great. Like he can have all the you block 8-6, which is like really important.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just felt like
I just don't think I would have found the check jam line.
Me neither. I'm saying it's amazing that she somehow
right,
found a way
and that's what I'm saying is I think that like she found it because of what they kind of understood about David. Like he just doesn't fold ace high here the appropriate amount of times. So now rather than having a bluff with a hand that naturally bluffs, we just give up. And then when he makes the mistake of reopening the action, we have a viable bluff.
You think theory check bluffs this one or exploit?
No, I think it's. I'm saying I think it's a clear exploit. I'm saying I think Robin would just fire the bluff here and get called.
I think the biggest exploit is the multi-sizing, like sizing their hand. All the time in the back room, you hear like Josh and David, who are more from like the live background, saying, "Oh no, go a little bit bigger, be a bit more greedy, be a bit more greedy."
Yeah.
And I can imagine if Andy was playing this hand and David Williams was in the back room, and Andy had, let's say, a 7 or a flush, and Andy was going to bet 150, David would be in the back room, being, "No, bet 400, bet 500, bet bigger," right? So like now when David bets 150 on the river, probably he's going to have one of these like weak jack X, maybe like pocket 10s or something like this.
Hand play.
So sometimes when you check, it's better to go for these check shoves when they're very likely going to size a bigger hand.
Yeah.
She's often going to play value her way quite straightforward. So he's not expecting her to like play
Correct.
check shoves or anything. He's not trying to induce. He just very often has the hand he's basically saying he has. So I think the biggest exploit in Reed, I think she got, was into his river sizing.
Yeah, I think that's
really
a sophisticated way of elaborating on what I was saying. Is she was done with the hand? She was just giving up.
You think that she was done, and then
she was just giving up, and he reopened the opportunity.
He gave her an opportunity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And his play is like really good against, the people who he will play against all the time.
Right.
Like this is like the way you should play. This is how you make the most money. But if you're playing against like really smart players like Nikita or whoever else who can read into it and aren't afraid to pull the trigger, then it's very, very dangerous to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, I was really happy for her. I thought this was like very much a hero's tale. She played incredibly well from everything I could tell. Also, it was nice to see Robin play like pretty well. It's frustrating, obviously, that like the highlights or lowlights of the match were just him endlessly bluffing for half pot into David, and David just like LOL calling because like what's a half pot bet, kind of thing. And yeah, that just truly isn't the way to beat somebody who's a station, like somebody who's way too sticky that finds their way to navigate to river with like hands that theoretically shouldn't be there. You kind of have to punish in a different, more creative manner. And I think that's what Nikita picked up on. I can't believe the episode didn't end today. How are we still in the heads up round? We have 2 episodes left, guys.
I know.
What's the plan?
Yeah, how is this going to happen?
Well, there's theories out there.
There are some theories. Barry Carter's out there cooking on Twitter. He said
he's cooking.
What's he cooking?
He said Game of Gold is supposed to end in 3 episodes. That was prior to today's, which doesn't seem anywhere near enough screen time. It conveniently ends just as WSOP Paradise begins. I'm giving it a 20% chance that the final table hasn't happened yet and will conclude live in the Bahamas. And I have to tell you, I was all in on this theory.
This sounds... Yeah,
I walked in the door. I was all in on the series. I was like, this is so smart. This makes sense. All of these guys are announcing that they're going to the Bahamas. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a reason why we don't have any spoilers for the winner because it hasn't fucking happened yet. Like, of course. This just makes so much sense. But now that I think about it, Yo is in Vegas. Jungleman's in LA. These guys aren't going to the Bahamas.
Charlie's in Bali.
Charlie's in Bali.
We haven't heard from Fedor. I think I could be wrong, but I think Maria's here for the WPT. Like, I'm pretty sure she has some interaction going on with like the ladies event and all that other stuff. I don't know, man.
Where's Kaina?
Where is Kaina?
Kaina's going to the Bahamas.
Is she?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
RA's in the Bahamas. DW is in the Bahamas.
We are Final 3.
Maria's in the Bahamas.
Oh, I see what you're saying here. Maybe it's not a 6 max.
Maybe, or maybe they start it and then when they get down to 3.
No. It has to be more than 3, right? Because we already know that Fedor. Oh, but we only know it goes to round 4.
Maybe it becomes more brutal. Like, we've been asking for more kind of like TV drama stuff. Maybe there's just like fucking 4 eliminations next episode. Like, you're out. Like
boom, boom, boom.
Right.
Like maybe there's.
But how? How are they out?
Maybe
like Squid Game when they go down from 9 to 6.
Yeah, maybe you
9 to 3.
Maybe there's just some like elimination thing where like people have to write down who they want to get out and the majority goes or something like this. I don't know. It feels like there has to be some kind of big twist. Right now, it's just like so much heads up matches, kind of slow, not much going on. They're going to finish in 2 episodes and need to get 9 to 12 guys out.
For what it's worth, this last episode of like the Nikita versus Andy is the last heads up match we need to see.
I hope so.
And
if Andy wins.
No, it's over. Nikita's last.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
So this is the last one, which means by default, the next episode will be the 3 versus 3 challenge. We don't know if the teams are going to be the same or not. But then we can see if it's possible for that episode to be done in like the next episode.
How can they do that in 1 episode though? Like,
I don't know.
Just don't show poker.
Yeah, these trivial heads up matches are stretching out. Like, you have such an important like semi-final.
And honestly, that I've done enough with like production to know that was a choice. That was an editor's choice to stretch that out.
Apparently, there was some difference in editing as the way that it came across with like the DW Charlie speech.
Yeah. I get that. That's always going to happen with reality TV. Basically, DW was saying that there was a long conversation prior to what you saw where they were heated, and it all took place prior to the flip. And basically, Charlie got his way to flip, which is a great segue. We'll talk about that. But I want to stick a pin in it for 1 second because I want to kind of end this conversation. We've been talking about it as though round 4 is the final round, but it might not be.
Maybe no.
Monday could be round 3, where we get down to a final 6 or a final 8, like whatever they choose. And then they could reconvene Wednesday and play down to like 3 or 2 or 4.
Or two,
right?
yeah, two.
Where's Josh Aryeh going?
Right.
Bahamas.
He's going to the Bahamas.
Is he?
He's in the chat also. He's saying
Is he?
He's saying the suspense.
What do you know, Josh?
What do you know, Josh?
What do you know?
What is happening after Wednesday? We need to
He's not
know
gonna
what's
tell
happening
us.
after Wednesday. No, he's not going to
Get him on the podcast.
They got an NDA. Oh, I did ask him to come on the podcast, and he said maybe after the Bahamas.
Oh! What is happening in the
He
Bahamas?
did say maybe after the Bahamas. Now I think about it. I was really surprised he was going to the Bahamas. I was like,
One other thing they promised, I mean, maybe this was a troll, but I'm sure they promised Indian poker too, which is when you put like a card on your head. And we've not seen any Indian poker.
They actually promised that, or they mentioned it.
Yeah, it was in like, it was in the
They
intro. It's like 12 episodes and Indian poker, and I've not seen any Indian poker. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it's Indian poker in the Bahamas in the pool or something. I don't know. But
Peds, this is 2023. Okay, it's blind man's bluff. Let's let's clean it up a little bit. All right.
this is how they labeled it. I don't know. Don't shoot me.
No, that's fair. I grew up. I grew up knowing it's Indian poker as well.
The question is, who would have the biggest advantage in blind man's bluff?
That is, strong question.
I feel like Josh would do pretty well in it.
I feel like David would do pretty well too.
I think blind man's bluff is probably still inappropriate as well. You can't get around any of this, man. You just can't.
Don't dig in too deep.
Yeah, how can you see if you're blind? You can't see.
Don't dig in too deep. All right, so let's talk a little bit. I want to get your opinion on a few things because there were some points. We've talked a lot about your threads, obviously. And there were a lot of points I agreed with and some that I didn't necessarily agree with. Let's talk about the decision to go first or last as the quote-unquote best player in the opening rounds when coins were the most important thing. You and Fedor kind of agreed that the positioning didn't matter all that much, but last offered the most information. Do you still kind of see it that way?
Last is best by far, I think. Yeah, for a few reasons. One, I feel like like we saw David Williams on, let's say, episode 6 or 7. He played the last sit and go, and he was just tilted. He was tired. He was mentally fatigued, and he just like kind of not gave it away with ace 4, but just like was ready to get out of there. Whereas in this sit and go he played today, he was a lot more like slower, like thinking about it, trying to like really caring about the sit and go, trying to think about what the best thing to do, going off live reads. And I think the later you go on in the day, the less experienced you are, the more mistakes you're going to make from like Fedor's used to playing, whether it be like long cash game sessions wherever, or playing like Tritons, like final tables after being grinding for days or whatever. So I think Charlie Fedor would do very well in the match 3 versus, let's say, Olga or David or Robin in the third match, where I think Robin, for example, would not give off as many live tells in round 1, but if he played the third game, he'd give off a lot more live tells because he's not thinking about it as much. I think Olga's more likely to do something kind of random in game 3, but in game 1 maybe she plays more solid. So I think that's like a huge thing. I think second, getting information of how people play. Like the most drastic thing is people play so passive off like 11 blinds, like they're not shoving enough, or like they get into the river and like folding like top pair or second pair when it's 10 big blinds deep. I think if Fedor and Charlie can see that, they can then manipulate it a lot. We even hear Charlie saying, oh my God, Nikita folded 10-7 suited to a free bet, right? Now, if Charlie went third rather than first, he knows Nikita folds 10-7 suited to a free bet. He's going to free bet her every hand, and he's going to dominate her in that game, right? So like Charlie going first in this game probably cost the team, I think, because if he saw Nikita playing the style that she played and Charlie goes third, he beats Nikita for sure, because he, 1, will get live tells on her because he's really good at that and she gives off quite a bit. 2, he will see all the exploitative stuff he can take advantage of her for. I think that's like massive. I think it would give him such a bigger edge against her.
So I actually agree with all of that. My only point of contention is that how much should the good player care about that in round 1? Because you're not eliminated if you take a suboptimal strategy to round 1 and your team gets eliminated. You just go to loser's bracket.
Yeah, I know. I think, but when you play these people who you don't really know, like David Williams said, he's never played with Nikita before.
Right.
You have no idea really what to expect. I think if you can get some of these like super strong reads, like folding 10-7 suited to a free bet is like such a big thing that if you go into the third match, you're really going to have such a bigger edge and you're going to win it way more often. So yeah, I think the reason for going third was more for the team rather than the player.
Right.
Your ROI is definitely way bigger in the third game than the first, but obviously you win less coins on average. Also, I think you saw Nikita and Robin had the charts in their room, and I think there's a lot of Instagram posts going around of them studying in the hotel in the morning before the sit and goes went on, and I think people memorize charts like, okay, 10 big blinds, what do I shove? 20 big blinds, what do I shove? So in game one, like 1 hour into the whole show, you're going to remember the charts because you've gone over it. But like 15 hours in, it's hard to remember the charts then. So they're going to make more mistakes. They're not going to be confident what to shove. So they're not going to shove on you because they don't want to look stupid on TV, whatever else it may be. I think it's just like such a big advantage to go third.
Yeah, so I think we actually fully agree.
Yeah.
I would just prioritize the coins over that edge in the first round. But when it comes to the elimination round, I'm 100% on your side.
Yeah.
I thought Charlie's decision to like feign that it's equitable to flip when they truly weren't even flipping. Like Andy was already anchored in at number 3, so it was just David and Charlie flipping for the 1 and 2 spot. I thought that was a very selfish decision, and I wasn't really sure where it was coming from because even at that point, coin acquisition doesn't really matter all that much. The amount of EV you'll gain from an extra 30 coins, let's say, or I mean, it's obviously going to be even less. It's on average going to be like maybe 10. The amount of EV you'll gain at the finals with an extra 10 big blinds, as opposed to being eliminated here, seems like a no-brainer decision.
Well, it's also, I think, putting David in first is very strong reason because he's going to put people in nodes, which are kind of strange, right? He's going to like lead the turn min bet with the king deuce. He's going to like do all of these different kind of things. So if he plays against Nikita and puts her in all of these like uncomfortable nodes, she might make like massive mistakes against some of these nodes, and then Charlie can come in game 2 and be like, okay, let's fucking go, you know? And I feel like I feel like
he should take game 3 though, right?
Okay, whichever, game 2, game 3, whatever he chooses to do. I think Andy might be better game 2 than game 3. I feel like he buckles a little bit under the pressure weirdly because maybe he's used to always playing as an individual, but I feel like he missed a very obvious bluff with like, was it 7-6 with a spade or something?
Yeah.
Like he just, and in sit and go 1, he folded top pair like a few times.
Yep.
For me, I think you don't want Andy to be in sit and go 3 because it's
Agreed.
going to be elimination. Like whoever loses this goes out. And I know Andy plays like infinite stakes or whatever, but I feel like Charlie would be better prepared
But
for
the
that.
disciplines are so different, and I can speak to this. Prior to studying for the airball match, I'd never looked at a heads-up chart, right? And
Sure, but you wouldn't have made any of the mistakes that Andy made.
yes, but I'm a lot more grounded in theory than Andy is. Andy's very much a freestyler, and he's just the best at beating his environment, which is a skill set all in of itself.
Josh bets
right?
60% pot with a king, and he goes, how could he bet that big if he doesn't have a queen?
Right, because in his environment, they just don't.
Sure, but like you said, the environment, Andy doesn't know this environment, so you should be
Agreed.
trying to put Andy wherever it's like has the least pressure because he doesn't know the environment, whereas Charlie can kind of like understand the environment. He knows this kind of stuff very well.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. I think it's like a no-brainer. Like your biggest strength as a team is having Charlie. Like he is your anchor. He's what keeps you from elimination. You absolutely need him in those elimination games. And yeah, that's not to take anything away from Andy or David. They're both very good in their own right. It's just what I was kind of speaking to with prior to studying the airball is getting thrust into a heads up sit and go turbo environment. Like I got invited to play the WPT 25K. I didn't even consider it for a second, right? Because like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with 15 or 20 big blinds in a turbo, and I didn't want to take the time to study it. And the amount of mistakes that you can make at those shallow depths is shocking.
It's a lot.
And
I mean,
it's really shocking.
I was telling Patrick like pre-podcast. I'm like, the amount of times people just don't jam ace-x offsuit for 10 big blinds is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they try to free bet call it rather
Right,
than
or like
jam it.
ISO induce, where it's like or like limp trap ace jack for 12.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah, or like like the Jack 10 suited rip for 15.
Or the Queen Jack suited rip, fucking button big blind.
These are very easy mistakes to make.
Yeah,
like
they are.
you know, you're kind of flipping a coin in your head when you just know like, oh, good hand does something other than just
you
check.
You extrapolate from MPTs, right? Like,
Yeah.
Like there's always like extra players that you're trying to like force out the pot.
Right.
Maybe you jam like small blind versus button to make the big blind fold with Queen Jack suited.
is.
But when you're in a big blind, it's going to be different. But yeah, it's hard to critique, they're playing heads up when most players play 9-handed.
Yeah, now there is a little bit of a trap that Charlie could possibly fall into if he goes anchor. And I don't think this is worth considering. Like, I don't think this justifies him going first. But I heard him like commenting when I think it was Nikita playing David. She was like limping weak and raising strong. And he's like, oh, wow, this is like a huge exploit. Like, we can take advantage.
Exactly.
Well, I think what he's failing to recognize is David doesn't know sit and go ranges. So the reason she's limping weak and raising strong is because David only raises strong from the big blind.
Sure.
Or like non-polar. He raises linear, right? So he doesn't actually apply a strategy that is going to put that into a tough spot. She can just pretty comfortably, play as she sees fit. And maybe that's also what led a little bit to the 10-7 suited fold, right? It's like he's under 3-betting a bit, in spite of the fact that he kind of chooses random candidates like 9-7 off, and I think he had 9-5 with diamonds.
What's interesting to me is, why do they have to decide who's going to go first, second, third? Why not say, okay, you're going to go first. Let's see who wins the game, and then we'll put the best player versus the best player, right? Like, let's say, okay, we'll put Andy against Nikita if she wins. Like, it feels weird to be, we're going to go first, second, third today. Like, if it's a team thing and they need to get through, maybe like there's good matchups, where, okay, maybe we can throw in Andy against Robin, maybe that's a good matchup. And if that doesn't go well, okay, then Charlie can go in.
What's your opinion as far as like how people are playing the overall game itself as opposed to the poker? Like, do you think that there are some clear standouts that are thinking much more about the larger game at play, or do you think that everybody's kind of falling victim to just wanting to play their best poker and get the team through?
I think most people are trying to not let their team down rather than play their best poker necessarily. I think Fido's playing the game pretty well. Like, he chose the best team in this draft. He saw that Josh and Maria had done very well as a team in round one. They were probably the strongest duo in round one, I think. And Fido was like, okay, well, I'll take them as a duo with me. That's amazing. Like, I think that was very underrated. I think when people were drafting their threes, they should have tried to get people who've already worked together before, because they already have a camaraderie. They know how to work together. And Fido was the only one who kind of noticed that. Every other team was like split up of different people. Whereas like, I think Fido's way of getting them together, who'd already been on a team and knew each other, I think that was very smart. I think Fido played it perfectly. He went first. He went first in the one where you want to get the most coins. Then he sat back, was like, I'll go third in the eliminations, which is the best thing for him and the team. He drafted the best. He probably played close to the best. I think Fido's playing by far.
I agree. I said that I thought his draft was the best, not just because of the Maria-Josh dynamic, but he and Maria have a very good dynamic. And what you want are strong competitors that will put the team first.
Maria did sweep.
She did sweep, and that gets, it's both lucky and unlucky for Fedor, but the point is like, you effectively want that first match. You want them to defer to you as the best player and allow you to go first, which is exactly what happened. Fedor got put into the highest EV spot for coins, and it just happened to not work out, where he didn't win his match, and then Maria sweeps the second one, so he doesn't get a chance to go again. But ultimately, he does find himself in round 4 because of it, and he was kind of gifted a fair amount of EV by being afforded to go first in that.
And we have to say the same for Yo as well. Like, Yo's done exactly the same as Fido. The draft, you can say whatever. Jungle and Kaina probably isn't a great team. I feel like that's 3 very different energies. I can't imagine that team working very well together.
Kaina's trying to look at hands and Jungle was sleeping.
And just like, I couldn't imagine those 3 like going for dinner together, whereas I can imagine Josh, Maria, and Fido, I can imagine Nikita, Robin, and Olga, like socializing. I feel like Jungle, Yo, and Kaina, Yo hadn't picked the team. If
you were Yo, who would you have drafted differently, knowing that you're probably getting Kaina on the wraparound?
Josh. I feel like Josh is a very good people's person, and Josh would work well with Kaina. Like, Josh is very nice, kind.
I think that's pretty sharp too, because Josh would have deferred to Yo to go first.
It's crazy. Josh went second last, and I would have chosen first. So like, there's definitely a very big difference between me and what I and Yo would have done.
Even in the very first round when coins matter.
Yeah, I would have went Josh. Because Josh will also.
But you're going to go third if you lose. Like, in the elimination match, you're going to allow yourself to go third.
Yeah, I would have chose Josh, because also it's not about who's the best heads-up sit-and-go player in the world. It's about who plays best against other people, right? So I think Josh would do fine against Maria. He kind of understands that. He would do fine against Olga, fine against Nikita, fine against Robin, fine against everyone apart from, say, Fido. Like, I think he would do fine. I would be confident with Josh playing against any of them. It's not like he's playing Linus Love in a heads-up match, So like, I think he'd be very good for the team. He would also give good ideas. Like, he's like a streetwise smart guy. He would be able to work out who should go when, what should we do? Oh my God, did you see this? Maybe he gets like a live read or whatever. And I think you'd also get the most out of Kaina. If you know you're going to get Kaina and you know Kaina's very nervous and, you know, says she needs to drink the wine before she plays and whatever, I think Josh is the most common guy for Kaina.
I agree with that.
Kaina will perform her best because of Josh. So maybe Josh gets Kaina an extra like 2% ROI for every game, which is a pretty big thing. You know,
do you think Fedor would have drafted jungle next if?
No way.
I agree.
There's no way Fedor chooses jungle.
See, we're on the same page. Like I thought jungle going in the first round even was like insane to me. It seems like they're overvaluing the skill set of heads up turbo sit and goes, I think.
For sure.
You know, his edge isn't that great and he's going to be so complicated if he does get into the finals. Like he's a guy that you don't want to see at the final 6.
Well, if you think about with Kaina, right? Like when Kaina was speaking to him, he gave nothing back to her. Where if that's
right.
Josh is going to give five to 10 things, which helps Kaina.
Yep.
So sure, jungle maybe has like a 53% edge in his game, but maybe Kaina then gets back 2% when she plays her game. You know, there's a lot more factors in this whole team thing going on. But yeah, I would have chose Josh, and then I guess I would have got. And I would have been happy to get Kaina too.
Agreed.
I think also, by the way, Yo was very nice with Kaina. I think he was, you know, I don't think he was like bad towards Kaina. I think Jungle obviously was, but I think Yo, Josh, and Kaina would have been a good team, and I think Josh would also have been smart enough to get like a good rapport with Yo as well. So yeah, I would have chose Josh for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that strategy. I feel like this second round of heads up really, I think we kind of felt it a little bit in the four-handed sit and goes, but it really shined through that there was only a couple people who understood that they were on a game show and that they were playing for something much larger than the matches at hand. I think Fedor, but Fedor is very quiet about it.
I think Maria for sure.
I think Maria too, and I also think she's very quiet about it. I think her and Fedor like really kept it under wraps that they were sharp to the bigger game at play.
Yeah.
Where like Yo, Charlie.
Well, if you remember, Josh said to Maria, "Are we going to let Fedor go first?" And Maria's like, "Oh, I'm not sure." Then day 2, Josh is not in the room. Maria's like, "Oh, I think I'm going to go first."
Yeah.
You know? So it's like Maria wasn't like to Josh, "Oh yeah, we should make a big deal out of it."
Right.
Maria took in the information. She watched what was going on. She thought about it. She came back. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do it."
And she knows Josh is like an equitable guy. He won the most coins in day 1.
What would have happened in most of the circumstances is Josh and Maria would have flipped for who went first.
Exactly.
But Maria just went quietly about it, really smartly.
Yeah.
And I think Maria's playing the whole show the best.
I agree.
She's tanking the longest in every spot. She doesn't give a fuck about anything like that. I'm certain she slow rolled Yo.
I am too. We said the exact same thing.
I'm certain that she slow rolled him.
Do you think it's worth her spending the coins though in these time bank spots? I guess we don't know what she's getting out of it.
Maybe
because she's made the perfect fold every time.
No, I think so. Yeah, I think so. And I think Charlie, I think has maybe said this since as well, but Charlie was giving off so much to her in that game. I think Charlie underestimated Maria, like being a live pro or whatever. Maria, I think, read into Charlie's body language really well. And I think she said something to Charlie like, "Okay, so like tell me like what could you be bluffing me with here?"
Yeah.
And Charlie like said something. I think he said like, "Oh, maybe a 9." I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
And Maria like really struck on to that, and then she put the coins in.
Yeah.
I'm also certain that she well, not certain, I don't want to sound like that, but I'm 98% sure that she meant to fold the queen and she didn't time out as well.
I agree with that.
Because her reaction, like if I time out of trips in this kind of,
I would flip the fuck out.
God, you know, like, I'm tilting out.
Jungle this happened with the Jungle Fedor hand where he folded the 3 queens on the straight where Fedor bet, and then DW was talking to someone across the table, and Jungle was like, "Can you not do that, man? Like you're like not happy about it, like very angry."
Maria might have
she just like angry. She just like slide folded. She could
have said to the dealer, "Could you warn me or something?" You would do something.
Right.
You would
you'd be like, "Damn, like what fuck?" Like I just like you would just put coins in anyways.
You wouldn't just smile.
Yeah, you wouldn't be like, okay.
Yeah.
That's a really good read, I think.
And it was a great fold too. Like Charlie's not going to jam aces and kings there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's just, is he bluffing or not kind of thing.
And Charlie underestimates her, thinking she will never fold a queen because like he's not giving her enough credit in her live reads. Like he's going too far, like trying to do the stuff you would do to an amateur with live reads, and to like the greedy jams. You know? I think if Charlie played Maria again, he would play completely different and he would give her a lot more credit. So yeah, Maria's like underrated by players who are good. That means she's playing the game well. She's doing well with coins. She's making the decisions well. She's on the best team somehow. Like I think she's playing the game the best.
Yeah, I thought David actually played the game really well, also in spite of the fact of kind of making himself a heel. I thought like him cross-talking Jungle in a big spot, whether it was intentional or not, is really good gamesmanship. Like, I would have told Jungle to fuck off if he told me not to do that again. It's like, this sit and go is not, you know, we're not playing for real money in this format. We're playing a bigger game at play, and me making you make a bad decision only benefits me.
Yeah.
So like, I think
But
like that.
how far do you go then? You know, like should he be like doing star jumps in front of him, dancing like?
I just think everything is like fair game. I think slow rolling is fair game. I think like
I
all
love
the
the
things.
slow roll,
Yeah, I just think like all the etiquette things that we abide by in the real world, because you know it's a gentleman's game and we are playing professionally, and you have to appease certain people. I think all that goes out the window when the only person you have to please is yourself.
Yeah, I agree.
One more thing about Maria, she also realized that the dealer wasn't paying attention. She was c-betting 30k instead of 40k, big blind 40k.
Do you think that was intentional?
100%. 100%. So smart. Like you can now like c-bet third pot instead of b40 or whatever. It's like, she's getting a better price. The dealer's like, 30k, and no one's realizing.
Right.
And she's like, next time I'll get 30k again.
I did see the illegal bets coming through. I just didn't. I guess I didn't put two and two together that might actually be
She's like tanking. She's like really considerate, Maria. Like Maria doesn't just like Maria takes max consideration into every single thing.
Right.
Everything. Like she's using coins where no one would use coins. She's making sure she doesn't make any mistake.
Yeah.
She knows what the big blind is and what she can bet for sure.
That's fair. Yeah. That is incredibly sharp. I think that the only monkey wrench to all of this is that these guys do all know each other outside of the gaming or the game show, I guess. And there is that aspect of like, well, we're going to continue to be peers outside of this venue. So how cutthroat can we possibly be inside? It's ironic because like I'm very much the opposite. Like I'm willing to give up cents on the dollar in EV to make the collective environment that I play in live better, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm happy to take the worst of it now and again. A kid, to give you an example, a kid called my all in the other day. He 4-bet called off for like 250 big blinds. First board ran out like 10 high. Second board ran out jack high, but double paired, like Jack 994, something like that. I tabled ace king. He looked like 3 or 4 times and then slid his hand into the muck. And no sooner did it touch the muck, he goes, wait a second, is that 2 pairs on the bottom? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, wait, I had ace queen high. And I was like, okay. And he like tried to reach into the muck and find it. And he like found the queen and not the ace. I was like, just give him a quarter of the pot. Like I can't fathom what else went in for 250 big blinds. Like, you know, he's not a gambling kind of kid. He's not going to show up there with king queen type of stuff. So like, whatever. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt.
Queen sounds kind of gambling to me.
It is. well, not in these games, Pats. Very standard get in, especially against this face. But
I was thinking, Berkey's like, oh, guy got 250 big blinds in 4-bet called ace queen. I was like, wow, these games are loose. He's like, oh, this guy doesn't gamble. I'm like, what?
It's a different world, these live streets, man.
Oh, man.
I don't know how to explain it to you, but like that specifically against me, that's like a really standard stack off. But
Mamma mia.
But anyway, the whole point I'm trying to arrive at is like, that's how I navigate my career. Like that's the way that I operate within the framework of live poker. But when it comes to this game show, I feel like you get the opportunity to be the exact opposite. Like this is where you actually get to be an edge seeker. This is where you kind of get to chisel out every single little nuance, because it's just worth it in the end. It's winner take all, you know? And the team element to me is very strange.
My biggest pet peeve on the whole show is when people ask for chip counts. Like, I hate it.
Of course, count your own stack.
Count your own stack, bro. Like, come on, every time. I hate it so much.
What's your take on...
Oh, it's so funny you say that, because I was talking to Ewan about this, and he literally said if he was playing against someone like Charlie, and Charlie asked for his stack, he's like, dude, just count your own yourself, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like, why?
But
you can't do
it's not
subtraction?
bad. It's not bad. Charlie's doing it, and Robin's counting out his stack differently every time. If he has strong hand or weak hand,
it's kind of sharp.
Of course, you're going to ask him every hand.
Yeah.
Like, but it's just,
What is your take on
you do math?
Charlie's? I don't want to frame it.
By the way, I think Charlie came off amazing in this episode.
Oh, I don't.
I saw all over Twitter people hated it. I thought he was very high morale. Like
he was
very positive.
It just felt so forced.
I know. I think he realized it's an elimination match. Like he needed David to win this game. His show depends on these guys. I don't think it was false. I thought he was genuine. Like he was on the couch with his knees up. Like I don't know.
I think maybe it's just because like we see the whole perspective play out in a very short time frame as opposed to how long it actually took. But I think like the thing that is in the back of my mind is like, oh, well, you put your team in this spot. You chose to go first.
Charlie should have been third, but like last episode, I didn't like Charlie's show because he should have went third. Going first wasn't good, I don't think. But this episode, I think he realized, okay, we're in it. I need these guys. Like, let's get the morale high. Yeah, he was like, I don't think Andy's high-fived anyone as much in his life. Like
that part's very true. Yeah, and that's the thing. We're
Charlie cross-legged, shoes off, nipples out, full sofa to himself.
Yeah, we're basically debating like whether or not it was genuine, and that probably doesn't matter, right? Like if Andy felt it as being genuine, that's all that really truly matters. So your point is pretty valid there. What do you make of how invested in live reads Charlie is, and like how much he projects that the majority of the decisions he makes are based off of like something that he picks up off of somebody he's watched play 12 hands?
So I remember playing with Charlie. I was playing, it was like a high roller, maybe 25k or 10k. It was only 4 people who were there. It was me, Ben, Heath, Charlie, and someone else. And it was like hand 1. And I hadn't looked at my hand yet. And Charlie had said to Ben, he was like, did you see? And I was like, what? And it was like, as if like he'd got like a live read on me.
Right.
But I hadn't even looked at my hand yet. So I realized that like, a lot of he does is to, it's very much in Charlie's favor for everyone to think that he has all of these amazing live reads, because people will play very differently against him.
I said this on our last episode when we were talking about this. I said that the psychological edge that these 4 people specifically gain from promoting themselves as live read guys, Charlie, Chance, Foxen, and Chidwick.
It's way bigger for sure. Like it's way bigger to have everyone thinking you have a live reads than to actually have a few reads.
I went so far as to say I don't think any of them have picked up on a single live read in the last 5 years.
Well,
I mean, I'm exaggerating obviously, but like I think the psychological edge is the bigger point.
Right.
They definitely will have reads. I think Chance and Foxen have more like vibes.
Sure.
Like they have like a feeling like this guy feels weak or feels strong more. So I think they definitely are very good at that. I think Charlie's biggest thing is that everyone's scared to play against him because they think he has these like magic, juju reads. I think Nikita and these people had said in the reads, I don't want to play against Charlie post
Right.
flop.
Don't talk to him.
Everyone's getting too invested in it.
Exactly.
Whereas, like he folded the jack against Olga, it's not like all his reads have just been right. I think if you see all the showdowns, then I'm not sure it'd be check out. Of course he will. If anyone spends all their time thinking about certain things, they're going to be good at it, So he's going to have live reads. I'm just not sure it's to the extent.
People are going to be much more like concerned about how they act and how they operate, where they might create a live read out of it.
Yeah, right? you create another data point for them to think about, and it scrambles the system.
Or like they shuffle chips, and like if I shuffle chips this way, he might catch on, and then they fumble or something.
Like something's like, it might be you're in a spot where it's just a pure bluff, right? And then you don't take it because you're like he's gonna read 100%. Me, so you just pass on it where it's just pure, and you're like
it happens in
massive mistake.
Yeah, it happens in tournaments too, with like you don't want to free bet Chance because he thinks you're light or whatever.
Yeah, right. I think that.
And then again, sometimes Chance on the main, like cards up coverage, like dude, that's the fucking like jack 3 off and just gets folds from bottom.
Well, so. I said to Chance, like, I know in your week I'm going to free bet you. I was like, okay, cool. Well, if I open weak and you free bet me, I'm just going to 4-bet them because I'm weak and I'm weak. So if you've got a live call on me,
you're weak too.
Then I know you're weak too, so I'm going to 4-bet.
But what if he 5-bets?
And Chance was like, that's pretty smart. But
what if he knows you're weak and then he 5-bets you?
You have to
be all in. Sometimes you have to sail it in with the Robbie, man.
It's just chicken at one point, right? The person to put the last bet in wins.
But when I've got like queens and he 3-bets me, I'm like, fucking hell, he knows I'm strong, Like, what's he got?
Right, now you have to cock to be 4-bet. He's only going to get an aces.
Yeah, so you have to play kind of reverse against Chance if he's that good, I think Charlie, it was actually interesting.
What a game.
When Olga blew the kiss at Charlie, did you see this in the last episode? Yeah. He actually really broke out of character. He had jacks against 10s and he was like, he laughed and then he had this like very stern face if you watch it back. Like he wanted to look mean again kind of thing. Like it was very interesting how she got him out of character. I'm sure no one's ever blown a kiss to Charlie before.
That's the kryptonite.
I was saying this too, like if they stare at you for long enough, like you wink at them, you just like give him something.
So if Charlie if you're playing a poly against Charlie in the future, just blow kisses to him. See, we have a read on him.
Yeah, let's make this a thing.
If he stands up, he's strong. Yeah.
Let's make this a thing for sure. Yeah, I think that you kind of put it in a very interesting way that it frames it out correctly, where I don't want to take anything away from these guys. Like I do think Chance and Foxen are pretty good at picking up on the meta. I don't know Charlie quite as well, especially like if he's as dialed in as he claims. I would expect him to be playing way more fucking live poker. you're not making these juju reads online. But I do think that it's more of like what you speak to, because I can resonate with that. Like, having played 20 years, like, I have a certain spidey sense in a lot of spots, but I'm not going to be able to articulate it to you all that well. I've had some reliable tells throughout the years where it's like, oh, if this guy does this, it generally does mean weakness or strength. Like the fake tell or the fake smile was always one that you could kind of generate out of people. Those have like passed. People learned about them. They got a little bit better. They understood the psychology, but there was always that intimidation factor that went a long way. When you're staring them down in the river, they are kind of like under the pressure of knowing that you're looking for certain things. And you're right, people pulled less triggers. I think that that's ultimately like the biggest takeaway from all of this. But man,
watch his face. Watch his face. You see the stare and look after.
The eye squints. Great.
But don't you think? I think Charlie's like strategy stuff in the back room's actually been really good. Like, I think
he's super sharp.
There's been too much emphasis on he's looking for live reads. He's like, oh, I got this on you. I've got this tell on you. But really, like, he says good stuff most of the time.
I almost wonder if he does that intentionally to like throw off. Like, he seems to really brand himself as the anti-solver guy, right? But like, he's pretty theoretically sound. It seems like he has a good framework for the way that he thinks. Yeah. And I wonder if it's just like almost this contrarian branding where it's like, I'm going to go against the grain, in spite of the fact of kind of conforming to exactly the same strategies.
Yeah, Charlie will play very similar to lots of people, like most of Solver players. He just will be more like custom sizing, Like, that's just going to be the most thing. Like, yeah, he's going to do what his hand wants to do against amateurs, which is what you should do. Like, Charlie plays good. I think he brands himself as this live tell kind of guy. I'm not sure it's even great for him. I think he's very like solid poker player, and I can't comment on the live tells because he doesn't tell us what they are. We can't see them or whatever. Right. I think Charlie's like backroom analysis has been the best in the show so far. Like, most of the time when Fido says like someone's going to do X or Y, he gets it wrong a lot of the time because he's used to playing against like Chidwick and Ike and whoever. He's like, oh, like, you have to bet the turn here. Oh, she's going to bet the turn, but then they don't. Whereas like Josh knows what these people are going to do. He's like, oh yeah, like they have mid pair, they're going to check or whatever. I think like Josh and Charlie also knows like kind of what people are up to. Whereas I think Fido's more, if this game show is all like high stakes regs, I think Fido would have like a better success rate of knowing what people were going to do.
Agreed.
Whereas Charlie probably wouldn't, I don't think. You'd probably get it wrong more often then. So yeah, I think Charlie's been the most impressive in terms of his like backroom analysis.
What do you think the best version of the show is? All high stakes regs, all amateurs, some mix of the two?
People want to see, I think the more amateurs there are, the more people that needs to be on the table. I think if you have like a qualifier against Fido heads up, they're just going to not do well because they don't know heads up either,
Right.
Like, if you have somebody who plays in the Win just like randomly like 2-5 or whatever and they qualify in, they don't even really want to be playing heads up either. They probably want to be playing like 6-handed or whatever.
They want to hide, yeah.
Yeah, they want to hide. I think the less people are on the table, the more high stakes players you want to see. You want to see more battles like Linus against Fido or Charlie against Yo, whatever it may be, Chance against Fox and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you have qualifiers and amateurs, you want it to be more like round one where it's 6-handed or not so much poker stuff like Indian poker or whatever, that kind of thing. I think
just like trivia questions.
Yeah, or more like elimination, like more like Kevin Martin style kind of like alliances, all of that kind of vibe.
Or like maybe forcing them to play a game of Among Us or something along those lines, right? Like where the strategies kind of carry over, but we're not forced to watch this slow game kind of play out over many episodes.
You get chips for a sit and go based on like a different thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever played Among Us?
No, but I played Werewolves. It's very similar.
It is very similar, but it'd be fun. It'd be fun to play Among Us with Matt.
What's the big difference between Werewolves and
Well, like the difference is like it's online and like you have to go to like do voice chat. You can't like look at people and like people are like screaming at you. It's
okay, but the actual structure of the game.
The structure of the game is relatively the same, right? There's 2 imposters. There's like some crewmates, and then the imposters have to kill off all the crewmates. Right. And sometimes you sacrifice yourself as an imposter to keep your other friend alive. Right?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of strategies.
Strategies, similar.
It could be very fun. Honestly, it is really fun to play these kind of games like with poker players.
But the more poker it is, the more we want to see high stakes players. I think.
Agreed.
Yeah. Like, is it fun to see like? Not kind of like anyone make a mistake. Like it's not that fun. Like if
it's shitty for them too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because the whole internet is ablaze about like folding top pair or not feeling comfortable with ace queen facing a shove. And these are such they're errors, but like there's so many other ancillary factors within the framework of the game show that are playing into this, right? Like I assume the 10-7 of diamonds fold in real time is just like, I think he under 3-bets, and I'm very scared to take a marginal hand post flop when he has me out chip 2-1.
Hand's just too good,
right? No, of course it's too good, but it's like, do you want the whole show to end on you making what feels like a loose call.
It was so small too.
Yeah.
It was so small.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I don't think it'd be that interesting to see like two high stakes players playing heads up for no money, just for coins. Like,
right.
Who really gives a fuck? I think there should be like amateurs and qualifiers and celebrities, and it should just not be as poker. It should be like a TV show, you know?
I said that I would flip the structure on its head, where the only poker that you play is just for elimination. So you do like systems of challenges or whatever that are basically non-poker related. They can be poker adjacent, whatever. They have strategy involved, but ultimately it comes down to like immunity, votes, all this other stuff. And then eventually you have two people who are up for elimination and they have to, battle it out.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to play poker.
Correct.
If you're playing poker, that means you got
failed
voted
somewhere,
in to
right.
be eliminated or some form of that.
Yeah. But then like the people that are good at poker have an edge.
Yeah,
that's okay.
That's the game.
They're
That's
gonna have to on this game at some point.
Yeah.
I just mean in like the heads up environment versus like the collective environment.
It's still
Right,
high
but the people that
variance spot.
understand the game within the game have an edge too, because they keep themselves
You know
out
what'd
of
be
that
kinda cool?
Right, you can
situation.
also vote accordingly, right? You
Right.
can vote two strong players down to play each other heads up so that
Yeah.
you soften the field.
You know what would
or
be
you can
kinda
vote,
cool?
a sacrificial lamb.
Or you have 4 people get put up for elimination, and it's a sit and go, and the first person that busts is out. They're eliminated.
That'd be interesting.
No, it's not. That's
You don't
the
think
worst
so?
TV on earth.
Really?
You just created a satellite.
Everyone's incentivized to just fold.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
Right,
Yeah.
but what if everyone keeps folding?
Then it doesn't sound very fun TV to me.
Yeah,
They just fold
then
because
you're
they're
just
forced to be all in.
Then
You
you're
think
just forced
so?
all in and you flip. You just
Yeah.
you basically just created a satellite that results in a cold hand.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
Well, you just only edit the cold hand, obviously.
Or it could just be
just be a cold hand.
You just wait for the cold hand. It's genius.
all right, Landon's fired.
You'd have to
alright.
start with like 5 big blinds.
You're not part of the production
Yeah,
crew.
Landon just created a scenario where the challenge is who can stall the best. Imagine,
No stalling.
Imagine creating that game.
It's hands per level.
Oh man, I can't do
You
it.
just edit it out. It's genius.
It's not genius. You're fired. You're not on the production staff.
But what does someone do with aces after bet call?
Jam.
Fold.
Fold.
See, he's out.
Yeah,
Of course I'm out, man. I don't play satellites for a reason.
if two guys are all in and
I would vote you first.
aces fold.
Put it on the island.
Yeah, great. You're going to exploit my poor satellite play. Congratulations. Get me the fuck out of here. Pads, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate this high-level breakdown of Game of Gold. It's been a pleasure. This has been so much fun to watch. I'm excited to see where the last 2 episodes take us. Good luck at the WPT. I will see you there once the main starts to roll out. But
Who's going to win? Who's your prediction to win?
For the main?
Yeah.
Bro, how?
Just like throw a name out there.
How can you? Charlie Carroll? No, he's not. He's
He's not
in fucking
allowed.
Bali.
He's not allowed in the U.S.
Really?
Just
Well, that's T. Go on.
I don't know why. I just know he's not.
Oh, wow. I don't know. Kevin Martin.
the tortoise. Just say the tortoise. You know it's gonna.
It's
be me.
not going to be the tortoise.
What?
I'm sorry. It's just not.
I mean,
Who's going to win the main?
Fifth.
Pads.
Brock Wilson.
Okay. Brock is a strong choice.
Or maybe Cherish. One of the two.
Okay.
Cherish. Yeah.
Okay. I like guys that can navigate the big
It's probably
field.
just gonna be Ben
You
Wing.
have to navigate or dominate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is for sure a Joe McKeon, Ben Wynn.
Ben Wing. He's down
Kind of-
100%.
kind of
He's
field.
gonna be at the
Jesse
final table
Lonis.
with the chip lead at some point.
Yeah, Jesse Lonis is there.
Been
for sure.
wearing 6-bet shove 6-5 offsuit in the 1600 final table.
Yep.
With,
Just said whoops. just literally said whoops.
I like him. He busted me too. He's good. I like him. He's good vibes.
He's a fun dude. All right, that's gonna do it for us. I am headed to the Bellagio to play a little bit of cash. You guys are headed to the Wynn, I assume.
I'm gonna go lift.
Landon's headed to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Lamanna's headed to the Jewel.
No, I'm actually going to go to the Wynn. And
Okay.
before we, get out of here, we got to tell people
I was
that
about
it
to
is-
do that.
All right, you sound like you're going to
Well,
just want to make sure
Give me a
the
second.
LaManager's being the LaManager.
I get it. Today's the final day for our Black Friday sale.
The final
if you
day.
guys are interested in a year subscription to S4Y, head over to S4Y.io. Use code BlackFriday23. We'll be back Monday. I believe it'll be at noon Pacific. Tentatively. It's just going to matter if I'm playing or not. But we're going to have another Game of Gold wrap up and discuss everything that happens on the weekends, including a Steeler win. All right, get us out of here. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you all Monday. Peace.
Peace.